So today we're looking at a very simple, non-homogeneous differential equation that some people may be having struggled on. So today we have to consider this homogeneous equation before we solve this non-homogeneous equation. So we consider that. And now if you remember the homogeneous method, the homogeneous method, we use the characteristic equation, which says that you take the quadratic of this related to the powers, or not the powers, the nth derivatives of the equation. You get this, and we simply solve for the roots of that equation. So you get this, and obviously that's plus or minus I. So from that, we can get a complementary equation such that we get this. C1 cosine x plus C2 sine of x. Now, we have to find a particular equation that relates to this bad boy. And to do that, we simply say yp of x for particular. And since this is just a constant, we could just say a, and since this solution or this equation or whatever you want to call it does not show up in the complementary solution, then we can use this as the basis of our particular equation. So a, because 1's a constant, and e to the x, we could leave that alone and add a constant in front of it. So do one of those bad boys. So now we have to plug yp into this equation, such that we have to find the second derivative, basically. So I'll do that over here. So yp prime of x is simply be e to the x. And if we take the derivative again, we get the same thing. Fundamental property of an exponential function. Now we plug in this into here and see what we get. So b e to the x plus yp, which is a plus b e to the x, equals 1 plus e to the x. Collect like terms, you get 2b e to the x plus a equals 1 plus e to the x. Now if you notice the relationship that 2b is a constant in front of e, so we could say that 2b equals 1 since there's an imaginary 1 right in front of the e to the x. So 2b equals 1, and we also could say that a is a constant on this side and 1 is the only constant on this side, so they must be equal. So you get b equals 1/2 and a equals 1. So now we can move in, now we can write the particular equation yp of x, which equals 1 plus 1/2 e to the x. Now for this problem, since it's non-homogeneous, we could say that the general solution, I'll say yg of x, is simply yc of x, a complementary solution, which is just the homogeneous of the equation. Oh, my bad. That's a mistake right there. And you add this to the particular equation, and you get the general solution. So, if that is true, then I could say that yg of x is simply c1 cosine of x plus c2 sine of x plus 1/2 e to the x plus 1. So that is your general solution. That is your general solution, and if you have any other homework questions or problems, shoot them down in the comments below, and I'll try to solve them before your homework is due.